that has been a challenge. Changes every single day. We're trying to work through that process, but it's very difficult. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with the DOE, and I think that the conversations that Mayor Doyle and I have been having with the governor's office and the DOE is turning the dial a little bit. We're moving that needle a little bit on additional funding, but it certainly is not going to be the full way. But all pieces are helpful in this, and we'll continue to work with the governor's office and the Department of Education to try to get as much possible funding for Saco and for this situation as possible. So at least some positive things are coming that way. Nurses and I will be meeting tomorrow to discuss the new recommendations that came out from the Maine CDC and the National CDC around COVID. There are really not a lot of restrictions in place right now, and things are pretty much recommendations. But we'll touch base tomorrow to talk about how we'll handle things as we move forward and how we comply with the recommendations that are being made. If you look at our buildings, our custodial team has been working super hard to get our buildings ready. Just from the floors to the moving and all of the pieces that they've done, it's been a lot of hard work over the summertime, and so we thank them for that. I still want to extend that invite out to this group and the City Council to go see Saco Middle School, as it is definitely, interior-wise, it has really changed. You'll get an update in the packet that will talk about the furniture at Saco Middle School and in construction, and so I'll leave those topics for the meat of the agenda.
Any questions for Superintendent Ray? Seeing no questions, moving on to item 8, Chair's report. Chair LaFortune.
Hi there. I don't have a report this evening, but I do want to say a thank you on behalf of my family for the condolences and the flowers that the school board sent. Thank you.
With that brings us to item 9, staff reports. There are no reports in the agenda. So that brings us to item 10, board subcommittee meeting minutes. There was a strategic committee meeting on 8/10/2022, and the next meeting is 9/14/2022 at 5:30. The Finance Committee had a meeting on August 24th, 2022 at 4 p.m. right before this meeting, and there are no meetings scheduled for the Infrastructure Committee and Personnel Committee. Any discussion from either of those boards?
Mr. Mayor. Hi.
Board Member Preble.
I'd like to have more information to talk about infrastructure and personnel committees. They haven't met for quite a while, and I'd like to see if we could get them up and running again and meeting more frequently. If we could meet even minimally monthly or quarterly, that'd be wonderful. With like infrastructure, I was hoping to see if I know we have a beautiful list of all the things that we're currently working on with updates and things, but I was hoping if we could get like a fresh set of tour of all of the schools, see where things need to be fixed and things, check in on the list and keep that kind of running and get a monthly update, that would be amazing. And just with everything going on with the regular updates with new staff departing, staff coming in, it'd be nice if we could get personnel together just to do a check-in, even again, if it's monthly or quarterly, just to kind of get that up and running. I'd love to see that, if it's possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
School Board Member LaFortune.
That's what I was going to suggest as well.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll look to get the committees for personnel and infrastructure going on a more regular basis.
I'll connect with those committees and Jeremy and find out what a good time to get that started again will be.
There is, moving on to item 11, there's no old business this evening, so that brings us to item 12, new business. In the packet tonight, you'll see a link to a new hires memorandum.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman.
I move we approve the nomination of Elaine Provencher, SMS School Counselor, Jessica Geist, SMS school counselor Aaron Mears, SMS coding teacher, Nancy Miller, Fairfield special education teacher, and Sarah Hitchcock, young school teacher, and issue a contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman, second by School Board Member Preble, on hiring the new hires. Any discussion? School Board Member Gale.
Just a quick, again, thank you and congratulations to all the folks, all the new hires, and have a great 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. To note, there are several other appointments or transfers requiring no action, but I would encourage people to go to the memorandum for a full listing. That brings us to item B, a stipend memo.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman?
I move we approve the nomination of those listed in the stipend memo and issue a contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member LaFortune. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-0. And that brings us to item C, resignations. There was a memorandum in your packet. If I can get to it.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman.
I move we accept the resignation of Jasmine Menzie, Fairfield special education teacher, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion's been made by School Board Member Truman, second by School Board Member Preble. Any discussion? Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0, and I would encourage folks to look at the memorandum, which has several other names included there that do not need formal action by the board. That brings us to item D, an update on welcoming our new neighbors memorandum. Superintendent Ray.
So like I talked about with the data piece, we write a memo on just before the school committee meeting, last week, and much of the data probably has changed today, or for today. Really, the biggest updated pieces is that we are going to attempt to, and Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, next Thursday, register another group of students? This Friday. We will register another group of students. And one of the challenges that we see that throughout these registration kind of periods and weeks is that as school starts, the difficulty that we will have registering students on a daily situation, because sometimes we're finding that, one, the scheduling of the interpreters can take some time, and that registrations have lasted sometimes up to an hour per family. And so it can be very difficult to figure out how we go through that process, line up the interpreters, and then figure out the starting date for kiddos. And so we're going to continue to work with Catholic Charities as new come in to try to set up days where we can have an interpreter for a full day, have our staff there for a full day, go through the process, determine what's needs and where kids are placed so that we can properly give teachers and staff an opportunity to prepare for incoming students in the next week. And that is a strategy that some of the other school departments used throughout the process. We continue to get a lot of support from the community that has reached out to us, and we are working to try to funnel that through Catholic Charities, is because we just are not able to be the coordinators of all assistance that people have. working really hard just to try to make sure that we can get registration, busing, and all of those pieces to happen. Based off this information that we had last week and the projections, we are looking at 33 students that are 9 through 12 and 86 students. I'm sorry, 88, that actually is a typo, it should be 88 students, pre-K through 8, coming into our system. But it changes so frequently that it's hard to say whether it's actually going to be kindergarten students or if it's a new family that has middle school students. So we're just going to continue to keep everybody updated, work with the state on funding situations, and put together, hopefully in September, a better idea of what we'll need to do for budget adjustments. We've got some ideas that we talked about in finance of how we can make this work, and I'm confident that we'll be able to make this work without having to get a special allocation from the city council or voters.
Thank you. Any questions on the welcoming our new neighbors update? School Board Member Gale.
Just a quick question on the, and I realize these are preliminary estimates, but on the grade level 1, total of 19, it looks like waves 1 and 2, we've had 4. So on Friday, is that what you were getting at in terms of the, the length of time it takes versus what's remaining there?
Well, again, the information that we have is that while we've had 4 right now, the data explains that the next rounds and the next rounds after that of the spreadsheets that they provide us with families who are attending and the age level shows that that's where the number would be. I think what continues to happen is that never plays out with the information that's being predicted. And so each time we do a registration, and again, what makes it difficult is going back to the conversation is that we plan to welcome 20 families during the next week, and that tends to sometimes be less than the 20 families because of the decisions the individuals have made during the time that the move was planned and the notice was provided to them in permanent housing, that it only becomes half of that. And so the numbers skew, and then they are looking to fill those hotels rooms with other families, and it resets the data again and again.
Any further questions on the update? Moving on to item E, Saco Middle School furniture update. Superintendent Ray.
I'm going to have Meg come up and talk about this because Meg's been working on the furniture piece at Saco Middle School.
Thank you. We've had several phases of installation thus far. We did have a couple of hiccups with some materials that were damaged with teacher desk pedestals, but we were able to get a really quick turnaround on replacement and then prioritize those desks that had already been cleared out versus those where we're still waiting for parts, where there may still be an old desk in place that will be replaced after that. I think the items that are in place now are all of the tables, all of the student chairs, and all of the teacher desks. The next phase will include the student desks, both sitting height and standing height. And after that, we will look to get estimates for a third phase of the project where we would look to replace items in the conference room, front office, and library space. So the photos attached there kind of show you a little bit of a nugget of what is in those rooms now, but I really do urge you to take Superintendent Ray up on that offer. It's quite a different feeling to walk into that building, and I think it's going to be a really great way for students and teachers to start the school year.
Thank you. Any questions for Assistant Superintendent Parkhurst? School Board Member LaFortune?
I don't have a question, but just looking at the you know, the handful of pictures that are in here, I mean, it's a stunning difference from what it had been prior to the paint and the floors being done and the new furniture. I mean, it looks like a totally different place. In a really, it looks like a really positive, welcoming environment when you walk in the door. Just looking at the picture with the front office where you come in, these look better than I would have ever expected. Stuff to look after all of that work, but it looks awesome.
Thank you. I will share that after looking at that first photo, Principal Susie and I looked at the office door in that photo, and now we can kind of see some items that still need to be attended to in light of those items that are really looking pristine at this point. So that's our next agenda item, is to kind of look at pieces that we still need to polish up.
Any further discussion, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us to item F, a construction update. There's a memorandum in your packet, and we'll hear from Superintendent Ray.
Okay, last week, we met as a site selection committee here in this room and discussed the next steps in the project now that the Sweetser property has been removed for consideration, and how we begin to move forward. The site selection committee talked about a couple of different things, and one is about focusing the work on the Clare site, and because a lot of the pieces of traffic study, on-site improvements, land, all of those things need to now go on to the front burner, as that was site number 2. At the same time, certainly we know in the community there is talk about the SMS site, and I sent a letter to Brian and spoke with Brian and Pat Fox about some of the, kind of talk about, like, where are there, if SMS is to be a consideration, what are easements that are in, what exist, what is the Route 5 through 12 connector that has been talked about, where are we on those projects? Would those projects enhance or delay our timelines? Even looking at the Clare site and a lot of the work that has been done, just to do the traffic study again, some of those things, we're kind of in the jeopardy of moving away from the ability to vote next June because of timeline. And I caution us that there's only so many times we can kick the can down the road before we jeopardize our ability to move forward. See, Steve's here in the audience tonight, and we talked about just, he was at the meeting, and he drives bus here for us, and this fall, just looking at some of the operational aspects of where different sites are at, can you make the drive in time? Meaning, if it's built here, can you get through certain parts of Saco and back around to make the drop-offs at Thornton Academy and TA? Those are very, very important aspects of looking at a site and how traffic will flow in the city, because I'm not sure that any of us in this room would believe that we're magically going to have another 10 buses or 10 bus drivers come in to solve some of those problems. So there's a lot of different steps that we're working on to try to continue to move this along. Getting full wetland delineations is something that needs to now happen at the Clare site. And then again, to the public, while it would delay things, if there's other land available, please come forward. We looked at 27 different sites, and if there's something else out there, we need that information to come our way. I would hate to see this project continue to be pushed down the line in our ability to miss the shot at this. We need this for our community. We need this for our students. We need to replace the buildings that we're in 7 or 8 years. Can't be our timeline. We need to be quicker than that. And so we will continue to work on finding the site. That has to be the first part of it. while at the same time looking at the programs and how much space we need, so that once the site is identified, we can move as quickly as possible. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Ray? School Board Member Gale?
Is there a state-imposed deadline for us to come forward to them with what we want, or at least with the vote or anything? Like what?
Not yet.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to, at some point in time, there are some laws about timeline of once the state board has approved it, when there is an official vote that must take place, and you've only got so much time from once the state board is. The biggest challenge that becomes this piece is that we need to get to the state board by January, February at the latest, to be able to hit that June ballot. And all of the work that needs to be done for site and traffic studies, those industries are just like any other industries, that their plates are pretty full, and it takes time.
And I guess to that point too, is there any, and I realize the financial piece of it, but is there any downside to doing at least some of the like, for example, the traffic studies? Can we do both of those concurrently at the two sites that we have remaining to keep us flexible in terms of what we move forward with?
You can at a local cost. So that will be a local cost to do any of those. And again, that's part of the challenge, is that comparing of everything and going back and forth also delays that progress moving forward, because if you had a company and say, hey, can you do two examinations of a traffic study, their ability to do those probably simultaneously is not on the table. So while they do one, then you wait, and then you do the other, and then you compare. We need to begin to start thinking about where we're going to get this and how we rally behind this as a community and come up with a site to move the school forward.
And then from the memo, it sounds like next month then is going to be a more focused timeline of kind of the next steps
That's
from the
what
site selection committee.
That's what we're hoping for. We met with the traffic consultants the other day to get that work started. And again, some of that work can't start until school comes back, so they can do the clicks and the counts and all of those pieces. I think currently they looked at, when they were looking at the Sweetser site, and again, car count, click count, they were looking at, like, I think they said 900 is what a project would bring to an area. And so how that works with everything else based off where traffic is in those times all rolls into the picture. We'll be meeting as site selection group every couple of weeks.
Any further questions?
Mr. Superintendent, can you tell us when the next meeting for the site selection committee is?
Well, we have not scheduled that yet because we had requested some information that we need to digest. We need to have a full, when we talked with the traffic study group, they need to come back with that proposal so that we can get that going. We need to, hopefully, we had the wetlands report on the Sweetser site, and we'd like to tie that up, at least to be able to present that information as as goodwill to Sweetser as they let us use their, go on their property, and we want to be able to turn that piece over. So we need a little bit more information to come our way, but we'll be the second week of school probably.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Moving on, brings us to item G, a first reading of policies, policy BEA, school board use of email and other electronic communications, BEDJ, broadcasting taping of board meetings, BG-R, school board policy procedure, and BCB, board member conflict of interest.
Mr. Mayor,
School Board Member Truman.
I move we approve the first reading of policies BEA, BEDJ, BG-R, and BCB.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by School Board Member LaFortune. Any discussion on the reading of policies? First reading of policies? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. That completes the new business agenda, brings us to item 13, other information. There's none denoted in the packet, and I don't see any coming forward, so that brings us to item 14. There is no executive session this evening, and so at that, with item 15, adjournment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
School Board Member LaFortune,
Second.
School Board Member Richard for the second. Any discussion on adjourning? Roll call to adjourn. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
School Board Member LaFortune?
Yes.
School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
And School Board Member Truman.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to adjourn at 5:36 PM. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.